Warp drive active.
Oh, I have a Belbus. Damn. What? Oh, yeah, I have a level 25 Belbus. I forgot about this. I think that's a better pet, actually. Let's take him. I'll take the higher level horse. Yeah, and I might need to feed him, but... We'll name him Albus. Or no, I'm going to name him after his level. 25. Okay, and then, yep, and then I want to put his attack on the bar. And, yeah, he's a nasty motherfucker. Look at him. Not enough pet points. Why? Because of the Belbus? Why don't I have enough pet points? Oh. Well, never mind then. Stable the Belbus. That Belbus takes up a lot. Cool. That's fucked up that he can do that. That sucks.
Hello everyone and
Thank you, Wolfside, for the excellent content. 10 for my stream. I've liked and sub to your channel.
Basics tutorial. We look closer to what skills are needed in order to craft weapons. Also how to craft weapons, of course, and a few gameplay damage tests, of course. First off, what skills do we need? Let's start with the material lore skills. You should get these first. And it highly depends on where you're located, what materials are in your area, and you should have the lores for it, because then you have a constant supply of materials. I, for example, trained here leather lore for the grips, the exoskeleton lore, the bone tissue lore to use bone tissues, and the dendrology lore for the weapon hilts, for example. So you should craft or train your skills as high as possible, because only if your skill is 100, then you will gain the most damage and the most durability out of your weapons. Note, Starworld already confirmed that, for example, for crafting skills like weapon crafting and handle and pole crafting, for example, 70 is enough. Over 70 there won't be any damage increases and stuff. Over that it will just increase the durability of the items. So only if you want to be a high-end weapon crafter, then take everything to 100. So here, for example, the handle crafting, where these two arrows are, these skills are needed anyways, because if you want to have a handle on your weapon, you need the handle and pole crafting over skill, of course. But after that, it just depends on what you want to craft. If you, for example, never craft swords, then you don't need this skill, for example, and you don't need the skill beneath it. Because for an axe, the 2H shaft and staff crafting, or the 1H staff and club crafting is enough to make the handles for your axes, your clubs, or whatever what you're fighting with. Maybe you only craft swords and you don't need pole arms, lances, maces, whatever. Then don't skill 2-hand shaft and staff crafting. Tools and shaft crafting is also pretty optional, because you can buy your stuff at the utility vendor, but sometimes self-crafted have way more durability. Daggers and spearhead crafting is self-explanatory. Yeah, of course spearhead when you want to make some spears. Same with pole blades, for pole swords, for example. If you are a sword crafter, I highly recommend advanced blade crafting and great blade crafting, of course, because great blades are very good. If you use some good materials, of course, not the shitty materials. And then the blunt weapon crafting. Also the axes are also under that category, so you maybe need that skill, and maybe you don't need spiked head crafting. This is for star maces and flanked maces. And for hammers and stuff, it's the blunt head crafting. Yeah, and for the tool crafting, the tool shaft crafting, up there you have the tool head crafting here. Also very optional. So here are the primary skills you need in order to craft weapons. If you decide to go all in, then skill everything in the weapon crafting tree. Because all weapon crafting skills will just take you 500 points. You only need weapon crafting, blunt weapon crafting, basic blade crafting, one hand blade tool crafting, one hand shaft and club crafting. Animal materials is also good if you want to use molarium and stuff. Botany for the woods. Yeah, woods, not morning wood. And metals, because steel is your best friend. So if you want to save points, then decide if you want to do blunt weapon crafting or not. If you just craft for yourself or for your guild and no one is using hammers, for example, then yeah, drop blunt weapon crafting because you don't need that. But Spesnard, where do I get the books from? I'm glad that you're asking for that. So I will give you the mind-blowing hint to go to the library. Yeah, you know, the stuff where your grandparents go before Google was invented. I don't know, I just don't like libraries. Also, my wife works in the library. Coincidence, you ask? Maybe. But I wonder if she can get me an Ogmium book. Okay, sorry, I was drifting away. Please also consider that not every library has every crafting book. Some weapon crafting books are only available at Morincourt, for example. Like the Greed blades and stuff, the Conqueror's blade, maybe it will be available in Tindrum, I don't know. But you are able to get your basic crafting skills from the local library. And also buy the books for your lore skills that you don't waste so much materials. Because even a weapon crafted with 70 or 80 can also be used for PvE. If you train your crafting skills and you don't make it too crappy and you would destroy the stuff otherwise, then donate that to your local community, give the people in the town your stuff and say yeah, that are leftovers. They will thank you long after that and they will remember that maybe. Now to the crafting itself. Here I created a two-hand maul with 28 blunt damage, which is a lot. For the core material I recommend wood. You can use some other stuff, but just for example. Then the grip material, use some leather or some light material. If you use heavier material you will get more durability. And the head material. For hammers you can use bone tissues, for example, but please don't use bone tissues for slashing weapons. You could use jadeite, for example. You will get that out of Sabura, I will link it in the description. You can also use steel, for example, or molarium. You get molarium out of razorbacks if you butcher them at the butchery bench. And just a slight hint, if you want to train PvP with your clan, your guild or whatever, and you don't want to waste all your steel, for example, just for PvP training, then I highly suggest that you write down the weight of the steel weapons you normally use for PvP, and you try to use some shit materials or materials that are not so expensive, and create the same weapon with the same weight but out of your shit materials, that you don't waste your expensive stuff. Because if two people make PvP training with the same weight weapon as a steel weapon would have, then you have the same effect while training. But now you ask where to find all the materials. I will link you a hunting tutorial in the description. There are also some extraction tutorials. But yeah, for wood it's simple, just cut wood. Yeah, cutting wood with a dagger. No, please use the right tools. The equipment vendor have some axes and some pickaxes for 1 silver. Better use them instead of your rival swords and stuff. And you can also hunt some pigs. Be quiet. Bacon don't know that we are here, and now die, you f***ing nasty son of a you mother pig. Open the loot bag and take out the carcass. Open your inventory and press right click for skinning the pig and yeah, hold butcher, and you will get out bone tissues and some leather. You can also gather rocks and throw them in the crusher to extract more ores and to extract that further and refine that to metals like coprum or steel, for example. They are very good weapon materials. Okay, let's test a few weapons, and remember I don't have the weapon skill over 40, I think. Yeah, that does decent damage. And the head material is made out of bone tissues. Okay, let's test this two-handed great axe, and oh yeah, that was a handle hit, and that was pretty bad. That was also a handle hit. Oh man, I'm bad. Oh yeah, that was a normal hit. Yeah, 30 for that fast charging speed is very good for the reach of the weapon, I mean. Okay, let's test this double axe. I wonder if it does good damage or not. It's only just made out of bone tissues, so yeah, don't wonder about the low damage. Yeah, 40. Yeah, I have the X skill on 40, and it does, yeah, okay, the fast hits don't do so much damage, but yeah, okay, 50, that is pretty awesome. So this axe made out of steel would do, I think, 140 or 130 on a walker. On the head, of course. Okay, now we try out this toothpick. Yeah, I have the skill on 1 or 0, and yeah, it is okay for a dagger. I mean, yeah, why not? But if you craft weapons and you have other materials available, don't use bone tissues. Use bone tissues only on hammers and big molds. That is okay. But for the other weapons, better use malarium, steel, coprum, and yeah, other stuff. Or make a big mold out of gold. That is also pretty awesome. I had one in Mortal Online 1, and it was so heavy you couldn't even draw the weapon, because the strength requirement was above the moon. So I really hope this video was helpful for you. Please leave a like and subscribe. Ring the bell that you don't miss any future videos. Always remember to make party hard. And goodbye.
We embark on a brand new journey, a new adventure, a world unknown. Today, we enter into the world of EvE, Mortal Online 2. This is a brand new MMO.
Hello everyone and welcome.
Thank you, Jonah Vale Gaming, for the excellent content from my stream. I would like to sub to your channel.
Hello again, and welcome to our latest installment in the Mortal Online 2 Newbie Guide series. Today, after many requests, we'll be diving into crafting, one of Mortal's most robust systems. I do want to preface this video by saying that while crafting is in-depth for Mortal, I am more or less not an expert at it. The purpose of this video will be to teach you the basics and leave discovery and wonder to you. So again, this is going to be a very top-down broad video to get you started, but let's get into it. Now, if you want to be mostly a crafter, that's what you want to focus on. Your race and stats play a large part of it. The two best clades for crafting will be Augmere and Human. Human gets solid extra clade gifts that help them with lures and other crafting skills, as well as solid attribute point spread. Augmeres get a lot of solid crafting and refining perks, and can also get very, very high intelligence, which brings me to my next point. Intelligence is the most crucial stat when it comes to crafting. With high intelligence, you'll gain attribute skill points to most crafting skills, which will give you extra points to put into more primary crafting skills. In a perfect world, I would lean towards a very high int based mage as my crafter. Once you have your character mapped out, it's time to get down to business. This guide will assume we're starting our adventure in Haven, but keep in mind most mid to late game materials will not be available in Haven, as well as many specialized crafting books that you will need to seek out in the world. The basic premise for crafting is as follows. Find materials, bring materials back to town, refine, if necessary, materials at town, and then craft items out of the materials. I'll assume at this point you've watched our previous newbie guide to Haven, so I'll pick up a bit from there. You may notice zombies, and most animals, drop carcasses and other materials, but here we can see walking dead carcass is the primary material they drop, but in its base form it's extremely heavy. Sometimes while out farming, you will need to butcher or cook materials to conserve weight. Simply right click and hold down to butcher. In the bottom left we can see we learned a bunch of skills. Let me pull this up. So we gained a new skill, skinning knife, new skill, zoology, new skill, mammalia, Evercanta, primata, simia, material lore, animal material, skeleton lore, endoskeleton, and bone tissue lore. And then our butchery skill and extraction went up. If you press L and go to our profession skills, we can see the effects here. As your skills go up in the lures and your extraction processes, the more materials you'll get and the better you will be at using those materials to craft. So to be the best crafter at something, you're going to need to max the lures with the respective materials you're using. Now, out of the zombie, we got walking dead meat and bone tissue. But if we were to bring this back to town, we would get different materials. Let's showcase that. Now we're at the butcher table. Let's see what using the table does for us. Simply hit the use key on the table and add the material and hold to butcher. We can see it produced the same materials plus a new material, emulge. Using the butcher table also increased our lures at what seemed to be an accelerated rate. Another way to increase your lure of materials or animals is by cooking their carcasses. To cook, press L under the profession tab, click show all skill icons, drag the cooking pot to your bar, and then press the button. Here we'll add the walking dead meat and hold to cook. Now, we already had our material lore and our endoskeleton lore at max, so we didn't gain any lore from that, but we did gain cooking skill. I know it asks for a cooking tool here, but that's not necessary for the purpose of just gaining lore. Crafting items in this game can sometimes take only one material, or multiple materials for each different part. We're going to skip ahead in this video and I'm going to chop some trees in Haven as well as mine some granum rock. Once we have a steady base of both, we'll go to the crafting tables to see what we can put together. While mining, we brought everything to the crusher to grind it into materials. We noticed there's a spot for a catalyst. Catalysts in Mortal Online 2 are used to increase the yield of your refinement, or, you know, any other thing like at the furnace or anything like that. I will say that the values, it's percentage based on catalysts, but I, however, do not know these calculations and some of them are not currently working. The only catalyst I can really give an example of would be water and rock oil. So it's going to be up to you to figure those out and figure out what gives you more results when refining. After hitting different trees and crushing granum rock, we have a bunch of different materials available to us, but some of them need to be broken down further. Amaranthum and blood ore, for example, we'll need to use the furnace to refine. Let's go to the furnace with materials and see what we can do. Add the amaranthum, hold the start extraction. You don't know how to operate it. Okay, so we don't know how to use this workbench. Doesn't look like any of this is going to work. Okay, so we're probably going to have to learn some books. Let's make sure we go to the tutor first to get the basic stuff. Okay. It seems we don't have the knowledge to use the furnace. Let's grab some of our gold from the zombie heads and head to the library to see what books we can learn. Here we're at the extraction librarian. After we hit the use key on her, we can see furnace operation. We're going to assume this is what we need, but let's double check and make sure there's not any prerequisites that we need first. We press L to open our skills and type furnace. So we can see we need to learn thermal appliances and then furnace operation. We'll buy both of these. Learn thermal appliances. And then once this levels up, we'll learn furnace operation and go back to the furnace. Now we've learned furnace operation. Let's smelt some of this material down. We're going to try amaranthum first. And remember, if we knew the catalyst, we could get extra on our yield. We go up to it, hold down our use key. And then hold to start to extract. Just like the crusher, it has a timer based on the amount that we are refining. And here we can see our results. We got electrum, cuprum, calamine, and black. Now let's try to melt the blood ore. This material is too advanced for you to learn. Maybe you should do some research. Which brings me to my next point. Not only do you need to sometimes learn books to learn how to use certain appliances, but you also need to sometimes acquire lore via books to work with materials. Let's go back to the library and see if we can find a book on blood ore. At the library, we're going to go to the material lore librarian and look for blood ore. We can see it's here. Before we dive into that, let's check for prerequisite skills. So we can see in order to learn blood ore lore, we would have to have mineralogy. So we'll get the mineralogy. Learn that first. Once that is up, we will learn the blood ore and then go back to the furnace. Now at the furnace, with learning blood ore, we'll attempt to smelt it. After smelting the blood ore, we can see we got pig iron. This is a new material we can use to craft. After refining all these mats, let's take as many as we can from our bank and go see what we can craft. Now that we're at the weapon crafting station, we can see all we know how to make are daggers and one-handed swords. I'm looking for more of a two-hander. Back to the librarian. Now we're back at the library, this time at the crafting librarian. We want to make a two-hander. So let's open our skills and see what we need. We already have the prerequisite one-hand blade hilt crafting, but we might need to raise this. But I think we're going to need two-hand blade hilt crafting. Let's see if it allows us to use it. So as we thought, we're going to need to raise up the other one a little bit higher because it requires more of it. So we'll buy the one-hand blade hilt. Hit use on that. Wait for this to go up. As we can see though, even with these increased gains we're currently under, the book raises very slowly. Ideally, you'll be leveling your crafting by making inferior weapons until your skill is higher. Let's go craft some of these to see some gains. Now we're back at the weapon crafting table. We will select swords one-handed. What type of hilt do we like? I like the guard hilt. Let's do applewood, and then the grip has to be leather. Bada bing. And then what about for the head? Let's try bone tissue. I don't know what any of these do. Okay, we can see that raised our skill much quicker than reading the book. It got us to 58. Let's craft another one. And so here, when you hover over it, you can see the stats. This was the first one when our skill was lower, right? And as we gain material lore or the skills of what we're crafting, the shape and the blade, this is the next craft. So we see we went up about 5 durability, and then about 1.1 on the damage. And we can see the quality. It was bad quality and now it's poor quality. So when you're raising your crafting in game, you're going to have to make a lot of garbage before you make the good stuff. Short blade crafting. Should have enough skill to learn two-handers. So let's crank out some two-handers. Let's do the same materials. Uh-oh. We don't have any heads for two-handers. Back to the librarian. All right. So after going back to the crafting librarian, we should have everything to make two-hand swords. We need basic blade crafting, advanced blade crafting, and then great blade crafting. Have those over here. I'll speed this up and then we'll get right into it. We finally have great blade crafting learned. Let's see what we can make. Gonna open up the crafting table. Two-handed swords. What do we like? I like the ring. Let's do the same we did before. And then great blade, heavy great blade, crossguard blade, great Chris. Just use bone tissue. That raised our great blade crafting, our two-hand blade hilt crafting, advanced blade crafting, all that stuff. So bad quality as expected. So, and you can also make presets. So if I wanted to just raise my skills, you could do this. Skill Raiser. I should name it Skill Raiser. All right, done. The cool thing is you can see your progression as you get better with them, right? Different blades do different things, different handles do different things.
Okay.
You're going to need to mix and match and see, you know, what does what. As here we can see the great blade is lighter than the crisp blade. And as you can see, as the quality goes up, so do all the stats, the durability, all the different types of damage they do. Good quality. Almost to 100.
Docking request accepted.
So now we're at Great Blade Crafting 100. Let's see what the next one will do. And then impeccable quality. So now that we got the skill to 100 with these mats that we're using, this is the best quality we can make with those mats. So we've gotten the basics of crafting down. The same systems we just discovered are going to be the same for applying to all crafting. I will digress that alchemy is going to be much more complex and much more in depth. The reason I'm not going into depth on all these systems is because that's not what this guide is about. Finding a special monster, bringing back its spoils will often produce equipment way beyond your imagination. It's up to you to figure out how to best use those materials. Will you be a merchant who sells their crafted goods, a smith who supplies an army for war, or a hunter that just needs to be self-sufficient? It's all up to you. I hope this guide was enough to get you on your feet with crafting in World Online 2. If you have any comments, make sure to leave them below. Thanks again, and this is Jonah Vale signing out.
Godspeed, my doobies.
And if I recommend these builds for people or not. Hello everybody, this is a video on
Thank you,
taming,
Ken's Trash,
domination,
for the excellent
a tiny little bit of
content from
ritualism,
Like
but mostly just on like using pets, and if I recommend these builds for people or not at the moment. Kind of just my feedback experience as having 1600 hours as a tamer and dominator. Now I kind of want to just make this disclaimer up front. First off, I'm not a very good PvP player. I'm decently okay at PvE, but I'm not one of the best players there is, so, you know, if somebody kicks ass, they'll have probably a different perspective than I will. And then on top of that, you know, there's still a lot of variables when it comes to, you know, using pets and stuff, and some I'll talk about and some I might miss or go over. On top of that as well, I'm not making this video to defend the game, promote the game, nor to really just even promote or like demote a domination taming. I'm just making this video just to kind of explain my perspective and just give some general information that somebody might need, just to understand what tamers and dominators go through, and if this sounds like a good deal for them to even look into or get into. So let's get it going. Now, first off, I kind of want to start with a controversial topic at the moment, which is using pets OP? So at the moment, you have all sorts of different pets, and they're used for all sorts of different scenarios and things like that. So, for instance, if you have a terror bird, it's really good at chasing people down and finishing them off because the terror bird puts a bleed on them. They're 3-speed. However, though, if you're caught with a terror bird in the middle of a field and you're surrounded by 2 mounted archers, more than likely that terror bird is going to get its ass kicked and it's going to die. However much time you spent getting that terror bird or whatnot, it's going to go right down the drain. How much time you spent leveling it, it's going to go right down the drain. They're going to kill it. If you're not able to kill their horses first, or one of their horses first, and send the bird on it, and then boom, you know, now you're basically a tamer without a tame, and even though you might have got one of them dismounted, they're both still alive. So you can still do what you can, maybe as a solo mounted archer or mounted mage, but it's still going to be a hell of a fight, and more than likely you're going to lose that fight. However, if it's a one-on-one, that's a different story. You got the bird putting pressure on them. They either have to focus on your horse or focus on the bird. If they focus on the bird, then more than likely they won't have enough DPS to kill it. Maybe they do. Maybe you got a low-level bird. But if they don't, then you're definitely going to be able to probably kill their horse, run away, heal up the bird, bring it back, and then finish off the person on the ground using mounted magery, mounted archery, and plus your bird. So it can be definitely pretty strong. There's a lot of tactics you can use as well with the pets in general. But before I get into that, I'll just talk about the different types of pets, using them in different scenarios. So that's an example with the terror bird. Now, let's say we go into the sewers or something, you know, a very enclosed space, and I bring a terror bird with me. It can still chase people down and chase them really fast and end up, you know, putting some hits on them and killing them. However, you know, it's still just a big target, and if you find yourself running into a group of maybe like 3 or 4 people, maybe even 2, then you're still going to find some trouble, because a lot of people complain about how pets are OP, but yet these people do not take the time to ever hit up their tamer buddy or to hit up their dominator buddy and just say, hey, can you let me practice defending myself against these pets? Like, how do these pets attack? Like, how fast are these pets? Like, do they have any special abilities? They just show no real interest towards even learning how to defend themselves against these pets. And most of the time, there are secrets that tamers try not to talk about, but I'm gonna talk about a few of them today that can make pets flop pretty much. Like, pets are strong, but they're not everything. And if you just are able to keep your composure and come up with a strategy in the middle of battle, more than likely you will win. Of course, it's easier said than done, because sometimes, you know, somebody has an elder terror bird and they're maybe in a group of 3 and they run across your group of 5. That's still a big problem, you know, because you got 3 other guys to worry about, plus the tamer himself, which might be using a sword or using a bow or using magic to offensively try and kill you. So yes, I understand there are some situations where it is extremely strong, and there's not much you can do to it at all besides just to put pressure on it. But then there's other situations, though, where you can actually come up with a makeshift strategy if you run into these type of pets, how you will handle it and stuff like that. Because I will just say that there are some guilds and some individuals in this game that will give pets a lot of crap in the system, a lot of crap, but typically they're not the players that live up north in the northeast. The ones that live up in the northeast, for the most part, they laugh at pets. They don't have any tamers or dominators in their guild besides the ones that just tame horses, or the ones that they are getting ready in the future to tame and dominate trolls with. They just are kind of like, no, like, why would you be a tamer? They suck. Because they know how to deal with it. Not a lot of players can deal with it, because, let's be real, a way to deal with pets pretty easily is to just have really strong longbows, really, and really good armor, like steel, you know, something like that.
I might have lost
Reduce your
23.
damage greatly taken by those things, and you'll be able to hit these naked pets wearing no armor, but just their flesh for like 80s and 90s and maybe even 100s.
Oh, I got the
depending on
horse
what you're
away.
using, you know. And these pets only have like, you know, the max level terror bird has like 600 and something, you know. So hey, I'm just saying, 6 people plus a longbow, you know, I mean, pet's gonna flop. Not much places to hide it either, since a lot of the time the really strong pets are in their elder form, which makes them big targets as well. So what I'm trying to say is like, if you really want to understand pets more, there is opportunities to do it, and I encourage you taking those opportunities. Like myself as a tamer, if you ever see me in town, you know, especially in Fabrinum, you can ask for some training and I'll charge you for sure, but I'll teach you how to defend yourself on ground against the pets, you know, teach you how to parry them, teach you how to block them. You'll be able to just practice it, like, you know, learning how to counter it pretty much, how to counter it when you're moving backwards. That's a huge one that I recommend people get into, because it's one thing to parry pets on the ground, it's a whole other thing to parry them while on the move. And it's very important to learn, because if, let's say, you're with a group and they send their terror bird on you, you need to back up, but you also need to parry the pet as well and return fire. And if you haven't had any practice, that'll be pretty hard to pull off. But if you're able to practice it, it'll be a lot easier, and it'll increase your chances of surviving as well as defeating the enemy pet. And you know, that's something that I offer as well. So you have stationary training, moving training, and then you need mounted training, because every pet is a little bit differently when you're mounted. There actually is some ways to where if you have a terror bird chasing you, you can actually now this is a secret, you can slow down your horse, and then the bird will take a swing at you, but then you can speed it up again really quickly, and then it'll miss. So it's like, you can have it take a swing on you and have it not do anything. Sure, it's a little bit more micromanagement stuff, but at the end of the day, there are some strategies that you can figure out on how to counter the.
Okay, so the Mortal Online server just reset, and I have been streaming for about 12 hours, and I am going to stop as I'm tired. And I want to say thank you very much for your time. And just a reminder, you've been watching Skycat.live. And my website is here. And today was the best day of my life, as usual. It was a really good day. It was so good, guys. You know, really good day. Like, totally, you know, fine. Interesting things happening with bans and the police and all this stuff. So, anyways. You've been watching Skycat Live. Come to skycat.live. That's my website. And click on the cast face to donate if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Twitch, or if you're on either. Come to Twitch and give me a follow. And thank you so much for your time. I want to thank everybody for supporting me here today. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. Tomorrow we will be doing, tomorrow is Wednesday, and I will be doing more Mortal 2 and FFXI and EvE. Excuse me. Mortal 2, FFXI and EvE, and whatever else I feel like playing. Rust, zombies, and such. And thank you so much for being with me here today. There's been kind of a snag on YouTube. I had to wait 24 hours to get my identity verified, and that is holding me up on posting videos, guys. So I'm terribly sorry. There will be a 2-day delay here, and when those things walk around, yeah. And so there'll be a 2-day delay here over on videos, and I'm terribly sorry. You know, there's nothing I can do about that. That's YouTube policy. They're the master of the streaming. So whatever, like, they tell me what I can and can't do, and they're like, you wait 24 hours. So I had to wait 24 hours, and I'm terribly sorry. That's not something I'm very happy about, but it is a reality. So on that note, I am going to go to bed, and thank you so much. I'll be on for between 12 and 14 hours again tomorrow. Get exercise in the morning, and then on Thursday, I've got doctor's appointments until 12:30 or 1 o'clock, at which point I will be logging on all day for for Rust Wipe. And so, yeah, in 2 days we do the Rust Wipe, and that's going to be fun. I haven't done a large clan Rust Wipe in a long time, but I have no wish to lose those friendships at all. So we're going to keep with it. And so stay tuned for some great Rust content. You'll see a really great builder in their element with a good supportive clan and all this stuff. And I'm just going to go right back to my clan again. I'm going to play with them all day, every day. And yep. And so that's all I have for you. I love you guys. And yeah, catch me on the flip side tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I love you guys. Thank you so much. Peace.